June the 25th, 5 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Mayor Litchfield. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis.
Here.
Commissioner Moya.
Here.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Here.
Commissioner Arias.
Here.
Are there any considerations of changes or deletions to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Okay, if there being none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as is.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as is.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis.
Yes.
Commissioner Moya.
Here.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Here.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield.
Yes. First on the agenda under discussion items is discussion regarding construction services for a municipal court.
Yes, ma'am. So the handout I passed out prior to the meeting that has Nick Riego Sons at the top, there's a single page and then there's a multi-page that shows the actual package and breakdown of the quote. So with that being said, I've met with the judge previously. She had met with the previous city manager as well on trying to either relocate the court to the admin office adjacent to the gas company. That wasn't feasible based on displacing employees and the costs associated with it. It just wasn't practical for our budget. With that being said, we looked at other options and continuing to have municipal court here in the commission chambers with the addition of 2 office spaces here in City Hall. The reason we have funding, we're able to do this, there is money allocated based on penalties and court fees, as well as some funding that was set aside for prisoners to be housed at the county. We do not pay that amount anymore. Therefore, there is around $30,000 or so dollars. And with that available in that line item, it has to be used for specific reasons related with the judicial side of things for the court system. So with that being said, we figured we could put that to good use in creating the office space. We do have the funds available and we are within the budget based on the quotes that were provided by Nick Riego and Sons. We followed procurement and in an effort to try to get this obligated out of this current fiscal year before we switch over to the next fiscal year, July 1. We're trying to move forward and get this approved as quickly as possible. And it's been procured through CES. They're a cooperative system that meets the state procurement guidelines. And at this time, I asked the judge to add any comments she'd like to at this time.
I really, I don't have anything other than expressing my need to actually have a space. Let me take this off. This is my courtroom and I'm court ordered to wear a mask in my courtroom.
Right.
So by the Supreme Court. But at any rate, so this is my courtroom, but it doesn't have an area that I can actually work in. And I'm currently going through all of the warrants. We have roughly a little over 1,000 active warrants. And so we're going through all of them. We have boxes and boxes of paperwork in the old building that needs to be gone through and gotten ready for, getting rid of it, because we have stuff all the way back to Judge Paulson.
Wow.
That's a few years ago.
A few years ago, yes.
Yes. So, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to.
So where will this office be?
Paula's will be right there where she's at, and then I will be where Lucille was at.
Okay, okay.
Well, isn't there why can we utilize the old building over there like they had it before? Because that's already all packed up here, you know what I mean?
So the old building is currently in disrepair. There's a lot of issues. There's been, and I don't want to start rumors, but possibly asbestos present. It's utilized for storage. There's mold from the basement flooding. It's just not realistic. The money we'd have to put into that just to remediate would chew up through that budget in a hurry. So
And you don't have anything in the planned development office that you could just accommodate them over there? Because you're already on top of each other here.
it is, and I think by building out, it'll be walls all the way up to the ceiling, 2 office spaces. I think there's still plenty of room. They're planning on taking the black cabinets out and it'll extend that by a couple of feet.
Right, because not only does this build our 2 offices, but the 2 offices that are in the back room that really aren't offices, they're like cubicles. It actually is taking them up to the ceiling where there is a little more privacy for them as well.
But they're gonna be up front, right?
Where will Lucille be?
She's already over
Oh,
the other
next
building
door?
over there,
Okay.
where they were gonna, at first initially talk about putting
No, I
up.
just wondered, because you're already crowded as it is.
And it's tight, but I mean, we have to be creative and utilize the space that we have to appropriately. And like I said, the main thing with the concern with the sensitivity of these positions is a lot of this is confidential, so they need to have privacy with the walls built all the way up.
But how are you gonna have some of those walls that really have to be soundproof, that's my concern.
According to this contractor, we put our faith in them. That's their responsibility to do so, and they know what our needs are, and they're expected to meet those needs.
See, all the single crowd. You said earlier that it was 30,000 something correction. I thought when I read the budget the last time that we had correction in there was 48,000.
I do not believe so.
No.
Not specifically for this project.
But
Right.
no, that was allocated for the prisoners that we were paying. We cut them off at 48 at that time because we felt that,
I'd have to verify that, but I know this is well within the budget. to do
I have
so.
an email when I spoke to Rochelle, we had 24,847 from last year and anticipated 10,000 from this year, which would bring it to 34,847. The actual bid on doing this is 34,260, just roughly less than $600 less than what we have available in the budget.
And there's nothing else that you need those funds for?
Not really, I mean, if we're gonna utilize this room still, not really. Like I said, make it a little bit easier for the mayor to sit up there, because I'll get some of my stuff out of her way, so.
Is this a good long-term decision, or is this a need to get through now?
This is a long-term decision. This is something with investing 30,000. It's not gonna definitely just, we decide to do it and then it goes away. It'll be there for long-term. It's common practice to have, municipal court within commission chambers. I think this is the perfect setting. It works, it fits. It's not practical at the old courthouse and old police station. It's not practical at the old admin office as discussed with the previous city manager. I think overall, for the safety, especially now with COVID and everything going on, in and out, this fits due to its size. And being able to have the office space is really great for both Paula and the judge. That way they have their complete privacy and they have workspace to deal with all these old cases.
so if the new city manager comes in, let's say it's like the old city manager wants a receptionist, what's she gonna do with it? Where's he gonna put it?
That's up to the next person. I can only
That's what I
speak for
mean.
myself. I mean, right now, I don't think it's needed. Since I've taken over on April 2nd, Ms. Devine's been reassigned, what she was originally supposed to be hired for, and it's warehouse manager as well as the risk management person, contact person for risk management. So she's focusing on that now, and she's been relocated to an appropriate office. I do not see the need to bring an assistant. I know we're on a hiring freeze. I know we have a tight budget. That'd be up to the commission if you're willing to create that position.
Well, we didn't create the other position, we created so.
But I mean, that's something where I think great communication needs to be utilized, great communication between the commission and the new city manager.
Yeah, well, we'll give it a try, and I guess, and for my part, I don't see a problem with it. It's just that I see City Hall getting extremely crowded, and now we're working we're out of space, you know.
It would have the same walk-in space right now, just to kind of get a feel for things. We had the filing cabinets, as the judge said, right here adjacent to the city manager office. And then with Paula's desk, it already wraps around and it's bulky. The only thing is gonna be framed in and there'll be walls.
That's fine.
It's still gonna be tight, but I mean, it's similar to the format that we have right now.
Anything there will be a problem with our marshal?
No, sir, that's a part of the responsibility of the contractor. They have to meet all building code, all fire code. We have to meet ADA requirements. All that's been talked about and discussed when it came to the on-site visit with the contractor.
So noticing this is on the agenda for tonight, does this require a vote from the commission?
It does, and it is actually on the agenda. And the reason I want to bring it to everyone's attention is because it is a substantial amount of money. It's over my spending limit of $10,000. And it's a major facility improvement, so I wanted to bring it to the attention.
What's happening with the cubicles in the back? Who's utilizing?
One of them is mine, when I'm assistant city manager. I've been bouncing back and forth between my cubicle and the city manager's office. The others for the payroll clerk. And I believe with this quote that builds the walls up back there as well,
That's
which
correct.
helps because I need privacy when I'm handling my
Why
issues
should
as.
move the judge and them over there and then have more of the city employees up here close to the assistant and the manager?
That's a possibility too, but it's,
The problem with that is that Paula takes payments.
Yeah,
And she has to be here at this little window. So what they're gonna do when they build that office, is they're actually gonna put a window in there so that she can see when someone's out the
but
window.
then how about the egress and regress on the chambers to do that? Are we gonna have to go through their office or what?
No,
No,
there's a walkway.
There's a walkway, it'll still
You'll
be,
be around.
they're framed out, that way you can still walk around their office without having to go through
Like
it.
she said, they're gonna put, she already has a window, but,
Right. The window is the one that's currently in the
Yeah.
lobby now, and then they're gonna put a window in her office to where she can see that window when people are coming in to make a payment, so that she can see it. But actually, they're gonna take out these stairs and all of those cabinets going that way, and there will be a straight out and then over walkway that meets ADA requirements. We talked about that.
And where the two walls come to a point, instead of having sheetrock, like the judge said, it's gonna be,
yeah, I understand, but the whole deal is I'm trying to hopefully that, I know this is a short term, you say long term, it's short. Because the city, I think it's on term. Yeah, sure. You know, it's a short term because really, if you look at City Hall, it's already pretty crowded. So, well, I guess we can do it for a short term. That's not that much money anyway.
in my opinion, it is a large chunk of money considering our tight budget, but since it's already been allocated and it's there and it's being used for what it's intended for, I think it's appropriate.
Well, yeah, the reason I say I experienced building a lot and just lumber alone and all that is extremely expensive, so, and that's not even counting labor, so it's not a bad price.
And that's one of the benefits of utilizing CES. Like I said, you don't have to go through the lengthy bid process. And there is some checks and balances where they can only charge so much, so it does save us some money in the long run.
All right, thank you, Judge. All right, next is discussion of the biennial MOU Resolution 2020-24 support of Tucumcari Main Street and professional services contract agreement with Main Street. And that's Tawny.
Hello?
Do you have something for us?
Should be- it's in your
yes,
commission
it's in
packet.
there, right. 6D, right?
7-8.
7A?
7A and 7B.
Okay. There it is, okay. All right. It's up to you.
All right. Well, first of all, were there any questions with the MOU that came from, directly from the state Main Street office? Nothing was changed on our part.
It was pretty standard.
Yeah, it's-
MOU that utilized.
It is,
I know a lot of it was generic because, you know, but the biggest problem I had was what are your visions and stuff like that, you know, that we're looking at now.
that's all in the contract, not the MOU.
And I read that, but it was pretty standard, but I mean, at the local level, I also read what he threw in the railroad people as a situation. So those were my concerns, mostly the railroad people, because that's, we still have a museum and I know you guys want to operate that, you know?
Yes, we have signed all of the paperwork to take
Yeah.
over operations of the railroad.
With their board. And
Yes.
yeah, and and that was one of the areas that I looked at, and then the other area was, I wanted more details on the vision for the local level.
Okay,
Because
we
everything
can
in
clarify some
contract
of that.
was
It
very
is in the
generic.
contract. It is in the contract, so we can
Yeah, but
clarify
it
some
was
of
very
that.
standard, blank, 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 they didn't mention this project, that project, you know?
Okay, well, do you have specific
Uh,
questions
I
on?
had it all
that,
outlined,
you
but I
want-
think I left it in the office. Oh,
If you look,
thank God you gave me another one. No, this is the other museum. I guess I left it at the office, but anything, if you can fill me in on that would be great.
sure, if you look at, page 2 of the contract, under the additional services to be completed within the current fiscal year, that lists out our 2 economic transformation strategies and our capacity building strategy. Those are the work plan that we're required to submit to the state and national Main Street. So if you look at that transformation strategy number 1,
47 to 58.
I think about
It's
that.
what, page
47 and 58.
That's what
I
I
got 58 here, but it's budget.
Page 47.
Because I don't know if I put it back in.
47.
God, I'm glad I put it in back. You understand that? But, you know, on the contract, it mentioned a lot of economic development. It mentioned a lot of art. It mentioned a lot of art renovation and a lot of stuff, you know? And that's why the contract, that's why I saw that it was very standard type contract that you like. But I wanted more of a vision, what locally we're looking for.
Well, so if you look, say, for instance, under the leverage, the Great Blocks on Main Street investments, under that, it lists out the tasks that we're saying we're going to work on this year.
What page is it?
I don't know in yours, it's page 2 of the contract,
Okay,
and it's down towards the
I see
bottom
it.
under
I
section
see,
B.
yeah.
So it says that we will submit no less than 4 service requests. We're allowed up to 8. So, you know, I plan on taking advantage of all 8 of them, but we're saying at minimum, we will utilize 4 of those. Those come at no cost. We don't know what those are until we have businesses that come to us and say, take for instance, the VFW asked for assistance with repair on the arches that are starting to crumble. That's one thing we had planned for this summer, but due to COVID, they've had to push that one back. So, you know, those projects come through interaction with our business owners and other organizations here in town. We don't know what those are at the beginning of the year.
And we have utilized one of those service requests for like the branding as well, correct?
Yes, the branding is one of them. The work that we've been doing with Ria Cerna regarding the MRA and the vacant buildings, that was through a service request with the state.
Do you see a lot more buildings being vacant or occupied or?
We have one new business downtown.
I saw it in the paper.
Yes. I would say right now it's probably about 50% what I would consider vacant, but if you talk to building owners, they have personal items stored in them
Yeah, but
or.
that's not business, that's totally-
Right, and unfortunately, I can't do
No, I
anything
understand.
about that. That's where that
I
vacant
separate
building
it.
ordinance needs to be looked at, which is what we're doing with RIA.
Yeah, well, it sounds very good, a lot of it. And how are you working with our local economic board? Because I know you mentioned it a lot in here, in the contract.
Yeah, we're actually, Main
What are
Street is
doing?
actually a branch of the New
Yeah, well,
Mexico
that's what it
Economic
said.
Development Department. So we work more closely with the New Mexico Main Street.
Oh,
But I do work closely with Pat. We're
At the local
working
level.
with him, yes, on the local level with the bridges grant that he just got for retail. That basically it's like surveying retail businesses and motels, those types of things, to learn how we can better serve them. And then part of that grant will actually be used for implementation of what they find out through those surveys. So we are working with Pat. When I have people that come in with business ideas, I send them to Pat and to Vicki at SBDC. So we work very closely with not only SBDC, EDC, Mesa Lands, the chamber. We work, that's part of our contract is.
yeah,
We
I
work
read
with
the
those.
contract and I read it very good. But my biggest problem that I'm having a little difficulty is when I read in there, you emphasize extremely art, you emphasize economic development. Yeah, and then what was the other one? It was mentioned several times in the contract, And that's where I was having a hard time trying to put it together on what our local Main Street is doing. I understand.
We're doing a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm down
I
there every
can
day.
attest,
too.
I am a very busy person.
Yes, you are.
No, but
So-
I'm trying, because this really emphasizes economic, it really emphasizes art.
Because
It really
we are an
emphasizes-
economic development
And it
organization.
emphasizes WIDA, that how you utilizing WIDA and all that, because it even emphasizes it in here.
Yeah, we have access to the state LEDA funds. I have not had any projects that
So
would,
actually, a
go
lot
into
of
that.
it's more state than local.
yes.
Okay.
Commissioner, is there something that you see in there that we're not working on that you would like us to work on?
Well, I was trying to envision it, and I was like, for example, for quite a while, we've been talking about our things for the little park over here, the benches and everything, never has happened, it's still in storage like always, and.
That's a city property, so
Yeah, it is a city
I
property,
can't,
but it's within your area of
it is,
requirement.
yes.
So those benches, if I may real quick, Connie, is, we're actually doing that on the Second Street with the asphalt that's being tore up. They have kick-started the construction phase, and towards the final, tying the project together, once they pour the new sidewalks, at that time, to save costs, we do have those extra benches still
Yeah.
stored. We
Trash
will be
cans.
installing those, trash cans, bike racks and whatnot. That's all part of the Second Street project, so that's coming.
All of that is included in the Great Blocks plan as a whole, which is a phased-in project, so.
Part of the.
Right.
Other mission.
Yes.
I do have a question for the commission here. I noticed that we have 3 museums, and we really should be looking at making a standard contract for all 3, or MOU, what we call, for all 3 museums, and not have completely different standards, even if the property is owned by the city. And because, one of the museum has this, the other one has that, and the other one's in different, forms of the way that we have an agreement with them. I would like to see where we would have a standard type, what can be done and what cannot be done with all the museums, and how much involvement that our city government or the people of Tucumcari or access or what utilization could be for those areas of those museums. For example, I know it's getting a little solved, but with one of the times we had that waiting that created a big problem where one of the museums wanted to charge like $1,200 or something like that, and other things with that, So we really have to look at a standard type of contract for all 3 museums, since they're a house and city property.
Commissioner
Because some
Moore,
of them we pay employees, others we pay maintenance men, others we pay utilities. And so it all has to be kind of like, where we're gonna be able to standardize it.
Commissioner, there's 2 different issues there. One is the museums, which I'll address in my city manager report tonight. I got some comments on that. And then the other, as far as being, like you said, fair, that's the overall goal. And I don't want to go too far off of the Main Street topic that we're on right now, but the main goal of the city moving forward under my direction is to make it equal. And if it's good one, then it's good for all. But based on budget, we'll discuss that a little bit later.
No, I understand that, but I would like in the future, the commission, and governing body to look at that, so that we can really have a good understanding and not have to always be researching and seeing what's this, what's that, and what cannot, and what should be done.
I agree.
And where the city's involved and where the city's not involved,
Yes, sir.
especially when we deal with personnel, utilities, maintenance.
So the other side to that is the fee schedule you're referencing. Connie and I had talked about that, and through this MOU and through the agreement, we've stayed away from having Main Street spell out any kind of price fee schedule. That's something that the city commission, I feel, would have the job of creating that fee schedule, so it's consistent, something along the lines of
For
convention
all
center.
of them, yeah.
Correct. And then also from that, we'd have to discuss how is the money divvied up, since we're providing this service. Does the city get all the money? Does Main Street get a portion? And that, I think, needs to come soon in an additional work session, as well as have an additional work session specifically to discuss the museums.
Yeah, and I understand that, because but right now it's in here that they will be taking over. And on this, for example, on this one, I can remember our donation is what, 69 or 49,000, which one is it?
45 for Main
45,
Street,
somewhere in that
yes.
area.
But that doesn't include, we didn't ask for anything, as far as operating the museum. That's just the contract.
No,
for
that's a
Main Street.
contract on Main Street.
Yes.
But it will throw in the museum, and that's why I said.
No,
Before-
we're just saying, we will operate that
Yeah,
museum.
before we would sign a contract for them to take over the museum, I think we need to really examine a fair, standard for all 3 museums, because it's not only one, we have 3. We can
But
go ahead and
the
award a
museum doesn't
contract on
belong
the
to
museum, and then
the
come
city.
back and try and amend it.
But like Connie was saying, the museum doesn't belong to the city. That agreement's gonna be
assets,
between the
yeah.
museum board or the railroad.
Neither
people.
does the historical museum, it doesn't belong to us, the building is, and the building over here somewhere. And the building at the Route 66, the stuff does not belong to the city, we understand that part, and that's why we want to standardize the contract.
Sure. No, I agree, with that part of it. That is exactly why this was not included in this contract, other than to say that one of the things that we will do this year is to operate the Railroad Museum as a tourist attraction for the city of Tucumcari as a whole. The state revitalization specialist, Eduardo Martinez, has worked with us to do that asset transfer and the dissolution of the Two Cary Railroad Museum. He is now off contract until July, I think it's July 15th was when they come back on. So I don't have access to him right now. He is willing to help us with, creating those fee schedules. If there's questions, I'm sure he would be happy to come here. I can't say that on his behalf, but knowing him, I think he would be happy to come here and help the commission with that. And we can work through the Railroad Museum part of it as a template for the other ones.
And the reason I say that is because I know I refer to the Railroad Museum a lot, but the reason I more or less refer to it directly is because your house there.
Right.
And your program is there, which is almost the same operation for the other ones.
Sure.
And they have the same type of board. And I know we don't own the equipment. It's everybody's organization that has it. And with that said, as long as we're not making a commitment on the museum, I think, and we will discuss it later, I don't see a problem. I know that's one area that concerns me, because I'm trying to get a little more standardized for everything that we're doing, so that we can be fair with everybody. Thank you.
Is there
Anything
any
else?
other questions?
Any other questions?
About
Thank you, Connie. Any other comments?
No,
Anything
ma'am.
else? Then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Mayor Litchfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis.
Yes.
Commissioner Moya.
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Hey,
Paul?
me, I got on hook, I guess.
You got tired of listening.
I heard yes.
Okay.
Let's turn off our mics. Recorders are off. Let's get our mics turned off.
It's off.
So.
Just a quick reminder, Commissioner, that when everybody's talking over each other, my machine here is going crazy, and that means it's very hard for me to hear and transcribe.